on that. You're seeing all these great free preview on that. You're seeing all the great Girl Scout cookies on here. That our little sales girl over here, Candace Martin, has on here, and her great mom over here to my right, Laura Martin, the lady. I don't know how she does all what I thought I used to do. A lot of stuff or was a lot of places. She puts me to shame on.
No.
Yes, you do. Yeah, practically everywhere it seems, especially if it's politically related. I can almost count on I'm going to see Laura there. So I don't know how many she attends, but I know it's a heck of a lot more than me because she's practically at 98.7% of all of that. One of the, not only that, probably a very great teacher on that. We're going to be ready to hit YouTube on IE Newswire here in a second. I just love that slide guitar riff. That just puts a smile on my face every time I hear it. Now, what do you think of the guitar riff, Laura?
It's amazing. Good jam.
It is. I mean, I don't know. That just gets my blood pumping on that.
So I was listening to country in the car.
That's
She
actually
started listening to country.
that's actually more a little bluesy on the side of it. On that, you don't really hear a lot of slide guitar in country music. It's more of a blues type of deal. Where we're having a little mother-daughter fight here on that as we roll it in on a.
Take off your blanket.
Yes, given the
It's not that cold
instructions,
in the studio.
people are wondering why the pointing and all this. Then people wonder what nefarious things might be going on here. But no, it's a very windy on a Taco Tuesday coming in on that as we're fired up now on IE Newswire Live on that. And you can read some of the great stuff Laura writes on there. She always puts some. Not as often as you know who does, but she puts some very great stuff up on there. And there's probably of all the people that I've run across on the political scene, there's probably no more person that I would trust more. I think has more integrity. And if Laura says it, you can take that check and cash it in any bank in the world because she does not mince words, and she does not BS anybody or try to put out misinformation. I mean, everything I've done with her is basically checked out 100% spot on. So welcome to you both, Laura and Candace Martin, on that. And as we did on YouTube on that, the reason they are in here is Candace, the Girl Scout cookie thing is up and running, and you're seeing all the great Girl Scout cookies that I just purchased on here. So give us a little rundown of what we got.
So we have the Caramel Delights over on Laura's side, the Thin Mints on my mom's side, and the Caramel Chocolate Chips. We got more Thin Mints in the middle. We got s'mores, barely see those. And we got the last year for Thanks a Lot.
Oh, that's you got it. If you want these, if these are your favorite, you better stock up. Order about $10,000 worth from Candace.
I agree.
Yeah, because you won't be able to get them anymore. So if you like those, you better be on the stick in ordering them.
Buy a fridge.
You got it. Tell them how they can get a hold of you and how they can order these great Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah.
Well, we will post a comment down below to our cookie share link, and you can always order there. If you don't eat cookies, we would love a donation of we call them eye cares, and for every eye care that we receive, we're donating personally to the military. Last year, we were really excited. We dropped off a whole bunch of boxes over at Camp Pendleton and really made them smile.
It sure
Yes,
was.
we
I'm sure
did.
they really, really appreciated
Right.
that coming through the.
So weird.
Coming through the. Why was it so weird?
And we also sent some to Korea. We had one of our
Wow.
troop members had
Whoa.
their son deployed there, so we sent a box.
International sales lady over here that's catching it all up. So if you wanted, it's not only a good cause. Girl Scout cookies, it teaches these kids, how the real world works, and we need much more of that. Not only across the board, even a lot of the adults, and we will get into that here in a little bit, need that. But it's really, really more important that our kids learn these kind of lessons and how how you really make the world turn on that. So onward and upward to some of the news stories that's coming on that, and we'll post the links. Did you put it in the comment?
I will. I'll post it down below when we go to commercial segment.
You got it. We'll post it in the comments section so you can know that you found the no button. Where's the screaming goat? Oh, there's the screaming goat. That's usually everybody's favorite. Oh, you tried that? Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you go like this. Yeah, that's a screaming goat on that. A lot of stuff coming up. At the bottom of the hour, we're going to have Kristen Nyman on. She's a cybersecurity expert. We're going to get into this whole CAUCUS chaos thing on the
there's an app for that.
Yes, that does that. Because man, we're going to get into it more. But I mean, I think Laura will do that. But I put a post up on IE Newswire on that. This whole impeachment thing. One of the main things is Trump and the Russians were fixing the elections and stuff. And voila, the Democrats in 2020, in their most important election, that they say the world's coming to an end if Trump gets reelected, they can't even run a freaking election. And stay tuned, because there's been a lot of breaking news on that. And as they always said in the old days, follow the money trail. And I think you're going to find that everything that you found, or everything that they're accusing Trump of, you're going to see it playing out here in this whole Iowa caucus. That'll be coming up at the bottom of the hour. One of the first things, and roll up the IEN Newswire deal on that. I just put up a funny little poster. Actually, Moses Reza put it up on there on the deal of that. There's the deal. See if you can can you blow up this? Yes. This is a quote, and those who use on the video. At least we're not Iowa. Issued by the Riverside County Voter Registrar's Office. And that's a joke. We made that, but it's not really put out by them. But this is kind of the whole thing that we've got going on there for that. That's kind of the absurdity of this whole thing, because Laura probably remembers it. I mean, we had a whole fiasco, about 10 years ago at the Riverside County Registrars about voting, and they wouldn't let us watch the count and the whole controversy.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the Democrats, if I may interject,
yes.
They had an election in, I think, 2017 to nominate a new Democrat chair, and they cheated in their own election in California for the Democrat chair. They had to do a recount, and we're talking about 200 votes. 200 votes had to be recounted. 1,000 people voted. Alex Padilla, who is actually in charge of our elections here in California, he actually cast an illegal vote in that election for Democrat chair, because I guess they need to pay their dues in order to be delegates to be able to vote, and he voted without paying his dues. And so his vote was nullified along with a couple others, and then they found duplicates. So if we can't trust them to be honest in their own elections, how can we trust them to be honest in Iowa? I mean, come on.
And this is what we're going to bring out, because what we're going to reveal at the bottom of the hour is all this stuff. And like I said, the whole deal is, and put up the post on there on IE Newswire about the Iowa caucuses, and that's what my little editorial is on of that. Is everything that they are accusing Trump of in this whole non-impeachment? No, the next one, the one about, yes, this one right here. The everything that they've been accusing Trump of, in fixing these elections, they've done. And blow up the Iowa caucus Democrat debacle picture there for a second. See if you can do that. These are some of the vote counters, or what are running the election, the non-result election. Doesn't this look like some crooked party? Give me a screaming goat on this one, because don't you want to run the screaming goat? Yes, when you see these guys. I mean, doesn't this look like corruption on parade?
Absolutely. They're up to no good.
Roll the next one up on the enchilada. On that, because I want to cover this one. Yes, this just broke today. The last 4 days, there was a statewide operation going in, and they were rescuing human traffickers. They got 56. I think there was 336 arrestees statewide. 72 in Riverside County, and you're seeing the lucky 72, and not really the absolute. If they are convicted, and they are only charged, they're not guilty, but if they're convicted on human trafficking, one of my things is if I was czar, people that were molesting kids and human trafficking, especially if they're juveniles, which some of these were that were rescued, they would get the death penalty in my book. What do you say, Laura?
Absolutely. I mean, it's just disgusting. And our legislature protects them with their support of Prop 47 and Prop 57, AB 109. Some people will argue that some of those are voter-led propositions, but Alex Padilla and the electeds in the state of California, they're the ones who approve the writing of those propositions, and oftentimes they're deceiving. Just like Prop 13, it's a deceiving bill.
Yeah, the bond issue, which was pull up the Trump post on the State of the Union, because that will be coming up at the top of the next hour. On that, it'll say Trump State of the no. Go to Moreno Valley's Politics Matters and pull up the cover page that I put on there of that, because that's where I posted this on the cover page of Moreno Valley's Politics Matters. The state of our union is strong, and that you hear that usually on everyone. But it is probably no more true, maybe a couple of times in our 200-plus year history of that. But the state of our union could not be stronger in 2020, right here as we sit today, when we're going to hear the President of the United States, Donald Trump, give the State of the Union speech for 2020. And this is from last year, and I pointed that because you see both Vice President Mike Pence and Speaker of the House, I'm going to say it nicely, Nancy Pelosi, clapping at last year's State of the Union for Donald Trump. And no matter what you think, one way or the no matter what we all think of any one of the three on there, you cannot argue the facts. The facts are lowest unemployment rate in 50 years. Lowest Black and Latino unemployment rate ever in the history of the United States. Statistics on these things.
Did you see the Super Bowl ad?
Which one?
The Trump Super Bowl ad?
No, I don't remember seeing the one that got me was a Bloomberg. We talked about that on the guns where he was lying.
No,
about
it was a really good ad, and it was mostly led by African Americans telling their firsthand account of how Trump has moved and touched them. It was very emotional. I didn't really watch the Super Bowl, but I always look for the top ads.
And the reason in my book, the reason the Chiefs won, and you try and find the Chiefs player that showed up on the Friday press conference with the Trump shirt on of that. And that's my reasoning why Trump won why the Chiefs won, because of that. But everything. I mean, we are finally, and one of the things, and this is one of the things in I do, and a lot of my friends in the center right, we have a lot of contention on this one. But I've been real strong about pulling out of these foreign conflicts and in the Middle East and stuff where we are in there where we should not be. And we've spent trillions of dollars nation building. And that cuts across, I've said it, starting with Poppy Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, and Barack Obama. Their foreign policy has been monolithic in all those years, and it has been to the detriment of the United States and its citizens. Yes, it's an appropriate screaming goat, because we've spent trillions of dollars. You want to know why your freeways and roads and we can't take care of the homeless? It's because we have built, the one example is the Afghanistan freeway we built for 100 miles, which cost us $1 billion, and we gave them the equipment to maintain it after we were done. And in 10 perfect freeway, 3 lanes, I think, going both way. In 10 years, it looked as bad or worse than when they started. We have we built cities there that have just been going to ruin. 98.7% of the money we've spent there has went up in smoke. And even talking with that, what is even more incredulous in my eye is every soldier that has died or come back missing limbs or has been permanently scarred by this is something that is unconscionable when we're doing things like that. And we're gonna here pretty soon. We're gonna bring you the real one of the major reasons on why we were in the Middle East of that. And like they say, it's all about the money and all that stuff. Yes, there's a. Do you know the? Do you have the name of this? Which football player of the Chiefs this was on, Jesse? Frank Clark showed up at the press conference with a Trump shirt and Kanye West with a Trump Kanye West shirt on there on that. Now, again, with the whole kneeling and Kaepernick stuff, that took a lot of guts for him to do that. And I'm saying that's why he won. That's one of the main reasons Karma was with the Kansas City Chiefs because this guy was doing what was right. He knew what was right just like Kanye and a lot of others, Candace Owens and a lot on that side are doing, and we have Mason Weaver on, which was he was a big champion of Trump in the 2016, coming up with that. But that's where we're at. Our nation, Trump's cut taxes on foreign capital, brought it back in, and one of the greatest things that I don't think gets enough attention is he has redone of the aforementioned four who have hosed us on trade agreements, NAFTA, GATT, WTO, China, and everything else. He is starting to unwind all that stuff, all the stupid stuff. Because I remember a quote from one of the Chinese representatives, and I think Trump was asking, and he says, "How in the hell did you guys negotiate this one-sided, in favor of China deal?" And the Chinese official looked at him and said, "We put all this stuff out, and you, the United States, whoever was on, just went and signed it off." I mean, that's the equivalent of you walking in to Toyota San Bernardino, and when, let's just say, that new Toyota Corolla is about 30 grand, and you just walk up to Cliff Cummings, the proprietor of it, and say, "Well, I'll just give you 50 grand for it." No, Cliff's going to start at 50, you're going to start at 0, and somewhere you're going to meet in the middle. We didn't even do that. China said, "This is what we want." We went, "Okay." And they're like going, what is it, Christmas, New Year's, and we hit the lottery all at one time? And then what was even more incredulous, I'm going to let Laura chime in because I can talk too much, but that's what, and everybody said, "Trump, you can't do that. You can't renegotiate. It'll cause chaos. The world will collapse. The economy will collapse. Da 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 da." Never happened. He's renegotiated all those deals, got him at least got us in a more favorable light, and all that. So I'm going to let you. What's your thought on the State of the Union of the United States, February 4th, 2020?
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, 6 o'clock, he's on. He's speaking before his impeachment hearings. I think everyone knows how that's going to end. I'm just wondering what the Democrats are going to do for attention. I mean, last time, they wore white or something like that. Another time they refused to stand. What is it this time? Are they going to go, wearing plastic bags with gold pens behind their ears? I mean, they're going to do something to try to steal a click from the media so that they can get their 5 minutes on TV, and we can see them for who they are. We have a great economy, a booming economy. It's only taken a slight step back because of the coronavirus, which I think pretty soon, trade's gonna, not trade, flights are gonna resume, and we're gonna get past this. It's only a temporary hiccup. And really, I think it's the time right now to buy. I mean, the little slight downturn in the market, now's the time to buy, because I predict Dow 30,000 by August. And some of my friends have told me, "Oh, well, what does that matter, Dow 30,000 by August? I don't own stocks." But I guarantee you, your pensions, they're based on stocks. Even if you're just in the Social Security system, that's your only source of retirement, that's based on stocks and corporation. And the phone that you're probably watching us on, or the computer, that is made cheaper because of competition of publicly traded companies. So we all have an invested interest in seeing the economy do well. You don't have to work for a major corporation or have stock in one personally, because everything we interact with has been, either made, influenced, or made better by a publicly traded company.
Laura, have you ever been employed by a poor person?
By a poor person?
Yeah.
No. I mean, to be able to write the front side of a check, you have to have money in the bank. Otherwise, you're going to jail.
Yes, you understand that because I think you have it with along with your husband. You're a teacher, but I mean he
Yeah,
does
we
the
also
pool
own a
maintenance.
business.
Yes, well, you give it a plug.
My husband's business is Aquatic Solutions Pool and Spa Service. We have about 400 clients in Moreno Valley, Riverside, Corona, Norco. And our business started maybe 20 years ago. We started off with 30 accounts, so we've just grown from there, sold accounts a couple times, grown again. It's doing really well. My husband is a real go-getter, risk taker. And, it wasn't always easy. The first couple of years, it was really difficult. And, now we're just kind of looking for the future. How do we expand and still maintain being a home-based business? I really don't want to have to buy or rent a warehouse for all of our stuff because that would just add to the overhead costs. I am worried, though, how Prop 13, if it passes, is going to affect other businesses. Unfortunately, I was at a teacher union meeting today, and they were trying to tell people all the benefits of Prop 13 and trying to get us to sign something.
Which is, and just so people know what we're talking about, the Prop 13 you're going to be voting on in March is a $15 billion statewide school bond, which is totally unnecessary, and we went through with John Coppell on that. And I did the simple math. Gruesome Newsom, our esteemed governor, says we got a $22 billion surplus. I asked John Coppell a simple question. Why don't they take $15 billion of that, do every project they say is shovel-ready, which they don't have. They're lying to you about that. And Gavin, you can come in here, or any union guys or whatever want to support. Open microphones come in here all the time. You don't have that. And on top of that, we would still have $7 billion left to deal with homeless and everything else. Plus, we would save another 15 plus 20, $30 billion we would be paying in interest on that $15 billion. But they're going to tell you it's all for the children of all this. And the majority of you suckers keep voting for this stuff. And your school system has went from number 1 in 90 to down in the 40s. And thank God for Arkansas and Louisiana, else we'd be last. And that's the God's honest truth. It is not a revenue money problem. It is a problem of the graft and corruption all across the board that is going through our governments. In that the latest is the chaos in Iowa, to all the stuff they're doing in Sacramento, to the homeless crisis in San Francisco and LA and everywhere else that is going on, that we're doing all this stuff, we're doing it to ourselves.
Yeah, we are. Please don't vote. Please vote no on Prop 13. And I want the kids to have money for resources. So it's not like I don't want schools to get more money, but the contracts are terrible. Food goes to waste. They can't adjust order size based on who actually orders a lunch. Our supplies, if we order something from our supply vendors, our approved vendors, it costs twice as much. Glue sticks cost twice as much, ink costs twice as much, and it's ridiculous. Not only that, we have a culture that is largely reluctant to education in California. I think other states have done a little bit of a better job, or other counties have done a little bit of a better job in instilling the value of education to students, but sometimes, it's like pushing Jell-O up a hill. I heard that analogy one time. I mean, and they're great people. You don't want to slide anyone. I mean, my husband's a successful businessman, and, school really wasn't his thing, too. So everyone can be successful. I think we need more like CTE type of programs, more on-the-job learning programs. Those are some of the things that kind of got cut a little bit with Common Core. They're starting to make a little bit of a cutback, but it's just awkward.
It is, and to get back where he started with, and we got a couple minutes where we're going to be talking about the whole thing in Iowa with our expert Kristen Nyman coming up. But that's why I asked you the two questions about that, and pointed out that you do run a small business of that, and because you mentioned that signing in the front of the check.
Yeah.
And I do that to the other extreme example is Donald Trump, who signed many billions of fronts of the check or whatever, do that. So he has that understanding. But I've said this, and I want to get your take on it because I know you're a school teacher and into education. But it has more to do with, it probably should be in high school too, or in grade school. But I said, anybody that gets, before they get an MBA, a 4-year degree, I don't care if it's a one person donut shop or they're running Microsoft. You should have to be the point person for 6 months and run a company, because I think Laura will stamp this, and I know I will. It will if you actually, you're the person on the spot, those decisions come with you. You got to make the checks, deal with the regulations, deal with employees. When that all rests on you, your perspective on everything will change dramatically, because reality will hit you in the face. Not to slight anybody or what, but if you study in college, or you're following the Bernie bots, or you're going and doing, and most people are very good at their job, but they specialize and they never see 98.7% of the stuff that it takes to provide you with that job, and somebody had to put up with that BS. And am I right or wrong, Laura?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I do have an MBA, but while I was getting that, I was working. I've walked an assembly line. I've toured customers through our quality control checks. I've worked in advertising, production planning, and sales management. So all different aspects. And a degree is only going to get you so far. You have to have on-the-job experience, and you have to have some type of experience running a business, even if it's just, a business where you're, doing snack sales or something like that, managing the inventory and taking that risk, knowing what it's like to have product that goes bad or gets stolen or something like that, so that you can relate. I'm a risk avoider. I'll be the first person to admit that, even though I have a business degree.
I'm the antithesis of you. I'm a risk.
I know my husband, he's a risk taker, so I think we pair together really well because he takes the risks and goes out and gets the business, and I'm the one who says, hey, wait, we can't do that. We need insurance
you
for
need
that.
that. You
we need
that.
a license
Yes.
for that. And that's a whole nother subject about licensure and following our state codes in terms of taxes and employees. And don't get me started about how much I hate AB 5. We made our now employees about 5 years ago. They were subcontractors. We did it only because our tax man scared us, but it put our costs about 20% higher. We're not as competitive. And that hurts our customers. When we charge them $90 or $95 a month to service their pool, we could be charging them $80 or maybe even $75 if we didn't have that extra fee. And so everybody pays for that. And I just feel sorry for some of the other pool service operators who now are going to be forced to turn their subcontractors into employees. This isn't good for California. They're trying to make everybody pay into the Social Security system and not be allowed to deduct natural business expenses, because that's what's going to happen to the subcontractors. They won't be able to deduct part of their mileage or the clothes that they buy for their job or anything like that. They're going to expect the employer to pay for it all, and employers aren't. They just aren't.
No. It is that we'll be joining KMET here in a few minutes on that, of doing that. And as we do every day from 5:30 to 6 on there on the Mighty Met 1490 AM KMET. But yeah, it is, and that's why I say that perspective like that you have of doing that, and it's absolutely ridiculous of what, but you will never learn those lessons unless you actually are in that position. There's no way you can, and the lessons you will learn that even if you don't run a business, when you're in the position of making decisions or that, or especially, like I'm saying, most people that get it used to be, I mean, we won't get into the Mongolian basket weaving MBA degrees we've got coming out, but most people that get MBAs are either in upper management or something, or in positions of responsibility and stuff, or running the crews or whatever, doing everything.
Right now, this is what's playing
on the
1 minute, everyone. 1 minute.
And why am I getting the echo in my headphones?
Echo.
Yes, I don't know. Are you getting it?
No.
Oh, I'm getting the echo from stuff of that. But anyway, try talking when you're hearing yourself reverb in the deal. That's one of the most difficult things to do when you're trying to do that. Hey, if you get used to it for a while, you can do it. But I tell you what, that's one of the most difficult things to come up with. But no, it's ridiculous of what
30 seconds.
what we're having to go through on all this stuff. As you can see, we'll pick it up on that before we bring Kristen Nyman in, a cybersecurity expert, and we'll talk about the chaos in that. You can see all these great Girl Scout cookies that Candace and Laura brought in.
Show us your badge.
Yes, quickly.
There we go.
Quickly.
10 seconds.
Quickly show the badge. 10 minutes.
MT1490am.com and download your free phone app today. IE Newswire Daily is on the air.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
Here we are, coming back as we do every Monday through Friday here on a Windy Taco Tuesday on the Mighty Met 1490 AM. That as we're going across the airwaves all across the whole the gamut of Southern California, and we are all worldwide on the net on IE Newswire Live on Facebook and YouTube coming up. So you can catch this show anywhere, anytime of that. That's kind of one of the great things about technology. We're going to talk about the chaos in Iowa. We talked about the State of the Union stuff that was going on. A lot of that. We have Laura Martin and her daughter, I said Candace, about all this Girl Scout cookies. So a couple minutes here while we get Kristen Nyman, our cybersecurity expert, on the line. Give them a little preview of what's going on with the Girl Scout cookies.
Hi, Kristen.
Go. Give them a little preview of that.
We got thanks a lot.
Hold them up.
Hold them up. Tell them that's the last one.
Last year for these.
Yes, the last year you got to get thanks a lot. So if you want to
Yep.
order these, get on the stick. We're going to post
Order
in the
now.
comments of where you can get them from Laura and Candace on there. Hit the other ones
Order.
quickly.
You're gonna want to get Thin Mints,
Yes,
caramel chocolate chip, which are $6.
that's the high dollar ones.
Yeah.
Everything else is $5, right?
Yeah.
So the good lesson in economics, when the better stuff costs more.
Yeah.
Because they're
Of that.
gluten-free, I think.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's the whole deal on that. But yeah, buy some Girl Scout cookies on the line on that. You can see in the comments. Laura Martin on Facebook, she'll hook you up with Candace, and her will hook you up on all the Girl Scout cookies on that each and every day. But we're gonna roll into that because, man, on the deal on that, we have had a whole gamut. I mean, we went through this whole non-impeachment thing, and they've accused Trump and the Russians for doing the elections and fixing the elections and yada, 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 yada. And we've heard it from Nadler and Schiff and the whole crew up there of how dangerous this has been. And Trump did this and Trump did that on back and forth. Well, guess what? Trump and the Russians didn't do any of this stuff. It was probably Hillary Clinton and all that other noise. But as we do, we've come to find out they're all these Democratic candidates are hollering, oh, Bernie and Mayor Pete and Pocahontas and the whole crew out there saying how dangerous this is, and Trump's fixing elections, he's got to go or we got to vote him out, yada, yada, yada. Well, they get their first caucus in Iowa as the tradition of what we're doing, and what happens? The election, we're finding out corruption. We're finding out we can't even get the results, and we get the results, half of them a day later. Nobody knows what's going on. You're looking at hiding. Now we're finding out that we're starting to follow the money trail on this whole thing. But we have a expert in cybersecurity. She's with the R Street and a lot of that, worked for a lot of Congress people and stuff. Kristen Nyman, welcome to the show with Roy and Laura and Candace Martin.
Thanks so much for having me.
Did I kind of summarize that? This is something that's just breaking of that. I kind of laid it out, but I want to see if you've heard about this. It's been breaking that Mayor Pete has some connections with the company Acronym that done this app that supposedly failed in Iowa, that started all this chaos and stuff. And now supposedly, or some of the reports are coming out, now they're trying to scrub all the connections between Mayor Pete and his mother-in-law or whoever it was they're doing that. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah, I have heard that. And what we've found that's interesting, or at least from what I've heard, is that this company supposedly sold software to the Buttigieg campaign. I haven't been able to confirm that, but I'm seeing the same reporting you're seeing. And, obviously that's a concern. We've also noted that Shadow, the parent company that made the Iowa Reporter app, was just incorporated in September. That's only 5 months ago. To create a system for the first national caucuses in a huge election, I mean, that's questionable, certainly.
That was going to be my question because I don't know about this stuff. But yeah, that was the first thing that was popping in my head when you said that. You're going to do this a statewide election with an app and figure all this out, and you just started 5 months ago out of nothing?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely raises some questions, and obviously what you've mentioned about, we're not only hearing that Mayor Pete's campaign has connection, but potentially some others as well. So I think that we need to let the reporters get to the bottom of this, and we need to find out what's really going on here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. Now, again, and you probably heard my little intro when you come in on that, of the whole thing about Trump and all that. I mean, that's been their whole the side that wants, or the ones that are just gung ho on this impeachment and are going to push it have pushed it at basically all costs, and they've accused the Russians and Trump for fixing the election, the presidential election in 2016, when most of the evidence I said it would have been, if there was anybody involved with the Russians, it was Hillary Clinton, but that's beside the point at this point. They've got an impeachment trial going on, which hopefully tomorrow that will be the end of that whole fiasco, and we can move on from that. But, now that it's breaking, it seems like the accusers are the ones, their side is the ones that are always doing this, and they're always pointing the finger at somebody else who's doing it legit. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, I think you're right. And in this case, what we're seeing at its very best, so let's say we're wrong, at the very best, it's the Iowa Democratic Party's incompetence. And at the worst, there is a level of collusion to definitely be concerned about. So no, I don't think you're wrong at all.
That's what's got me. I mean, when I first heard the Mayor Pete connection, and that was going on, because look at the results that came. Now, this is what we call circumstantial evidence, as when it comes out. Well, let's say all this stuff. Well, Mayor Pete's got money connections going across to this firm that just started 5 months ago, and all this. And who, after a day, and they release the results, who is number one out of Iowa? None other than Mayor Pete, leading the pack at 27%. I think Bernie's at 25%. And then you got Liz at 18, and I think Biden, which everybody thought was going to win this thing, down at 16. This thing stinks to high heaven.
Well,
I think you're right, and he wasn't expected to win by any poll that I saw. So there's something fishy there.
Yeah, and this is what it gets to my point of that, and why, but it's great that you brought out, because I didn't hear that part, that this company just started 5 months ago, and pretty soon we're running statewide elections. What were they going to recommend this app nationwide or something of that? I mean, again, you're a cybersecurity expert on that, and if you were, and you've done and made a career doing that stuff. Man, I would think, and I've done, I've worked in the R&D industry, in the racing industry, and I know the amount of testing and trials and rebuilding this and that. So when you roll out, let's say you're rolling out the new race car and stuff of that, to the racetrack, people don't see the hundreds of thousands of hours and gazillions of dollars that went in there to get that product that looks like it's just fresh 90 and goes out there and goes 9,000 miles an hour on the deal. I would think that would be the same process if you were rolling out a app to count votes or doing that in something as important as a statewide run caucus election in Iowa. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, that's exactly right. And there is no way by any industry standard that in 5 months they could have gotten that app from development to through all of the testing that should have been done. And apparently the Department of Homeland Security chief is on record saying that he offered to vet the app and it was declined.
No, I'm sure
incredible.
You made that up.
I did not. I wish I had.
Even this is great news because this pile of manure just keeps getting stinking more as we uncover the whole enchilada. And I think you got slow Joe Biden saying he's going to sue over this whole thing and yada yada yada. How could this? In anything but a bizarro world, how could something like this happen?
No, it's crazy. And when you're talking about the amount of money that the state spent on this app, we're hearing reports of $60,000, which might sound like a lot of money. But to do the kind of testing that they would have had to have done for this to be done right, it would have been way more expensive than that. And to get back to what I was saying about the DHS secretary, if they're offering free help, the fact that the state didn't take it, the Iowa Democratic Party chairman Troy Price was asked this question during his press conference earlier, and his quote exactly was, "Well, I didn't hear about that. I don't remember hearing anything about that." So it's just what's going on over there.
Yeah, it's incredible. You got any questions for Kristen and Laura?
So can this app be hacked? I don't understand why they would even need an app.
Yeah, so supposedly what the app's purpose was is, everything in Iowa they try to do on paper, which is the most secure way, at least from, in my industry, to do an election. And it's verifiable and as of now, we recommend those steps. But this app was simply supposed to be that you download the app, you take a picture of the final report for each precinct. Chair was supposed to do that, and the app was supposed to take all of that information and send it to the Democratic Party central headquarters in Iowa. Apparently, the app was reading the pages wrong. Now, when you're talking from my perspective, that is the simplest code you could possibly write. It is like taking a picture of a paper and letting it read the letters and words on the paper. That is the simplest code to possibly write. And the fact that the app was malfunctioning with that simple of code tells me that there is no way they installed adequate cybersecurity measures into that app. There's just no way.
Right, and you're talking about you're wanting that information to aggregate, and you need to double check data. I was actually a data analyst for a while, and we would find duplicate sales reports. Just the other day, my bank, they credited my credit card, and they didn't take it out of my checking account. It was kind of weird. I'm like, okay, that works on my behalf, but I know that pretty soon, a month later, they're going to find that error. There's human error all the time with technology. It can be great and a time saver, but if they rush us through without testing it, that's a huge mistake.
I agree. It's irresponsible on the part of the Iowa Democratic Party.
Just to take a little bit of what you said, the app and part of it was the simplest part that they say this malfunctioned on this. This just even leads to, in my mind, it's even more that there's got to be something deeper going on in this whole thing, because you just couldn't have a big cluster foxtrot like this. This stuff just should not happen. I could see if you had a couple of places that didn't have this, but to have a catastrophic failure statewide, like I've seen in Iowa caucuses before, I've seen them writing the results on a brown paper bag. It's
right?
Not rocket science.
In 2015, I think they ran out of
the voting cards, like little index cards. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we've seen incompetence across the board. And when it comes to technology like this, thank God someone noticed. What if they hadn't? then you'd be reporting all kinds of wrong numbers. I mean, think about, we're supposed to have faith in our democratic institutions and our elections, and this is just irresponsible.
Yeah, of the highest, like I said, this has got to be the biggest, if not the biggest. It's got to be in the top 3 of election debacles of all time history. In the United States, with our technology, world's leader, Silicon Valley, basically the center of technology as far as moving and shaking it and stuff, to have this happen in that on the world stage, and especially when they made such a point of what Trump and the Russians and election fixing, and we got to clean this up, and Trump shouldn't be in office because he's doing that stuff. I mean, even if the Russians and Trump were doing this, this would even pale in comparisons, even if that was completely true.
Right.
I mean, to me. I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm wearing the cowboy hat today, because I think my head's going to explode.
I don't think they have a firm grip on technology. Even here in California, we have people being duplicate registered twice, and that's been an ongoing problem for the last 2 years now, because our systems can't figure out how to register a person once and double check to see if they're already registered. So the fact that the Iowa caucus is screwed up doesn't really surprise me at all. I mean, this is a party, too, that has superdelegates. So don't fear if the voters get it wrong. The superdelegates are going to kind of correct that. We saw that in 2016 as well, when we had some states go for Hillary that should have gone for Bernie.
So, and since we got you on the line, and we got about 2 or 3 minutes left on this segment, but what would you? I mean, other than going back to the paper system, but if you were designing and doing this system like they're trying to do, is there really a secure way to do an attempt to do what they were trying to do to count votes in the way they were doing it?
Absolutely. I mean, all they had to do was go to the companies that already exist who are doing this exact thing that they're trying to do and doing it correctly. I mean, you submit forms online all the time. We were talking about banking earlier. You submit forms through your bank. These institutions are already tested. This tech exists. It is secure. But instead of going to one of these trusted companies that knows how to secure a form like this and share data across different platforms, they decided to create something on their own, which is completely unnecessary. And they did it quickly and in a hurry, and they created a company to do it. And there's some questionable, it's difficult to question the veracity of that company. So I think that, yes, it was very easy to do this right, and they just did it the wrong way.
Kristen, thanks for being on. You're absolutely great, Chris. I hope we can put you in the rotation when we have stuff of, any questions or need expert advice on anything like this stuff, because you're absolutely a great guest. You got about 30 seconds. Plug anything you want.
I would say change your passwords more frequently.
of the deal, yes, because that is a pleasure to have you on, and I hope we can have you on in the future as events warrant, because I think this is just the tip of the iceberg on this one.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
You got it. Thanks for being on, Kristen.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Man, that was something else. Pull up the coronavirus story, as we have some breaking news on the whole thing. Any final thoughts on the election deal, Laura?
On the election deal, well, let's talk about this week. This week, mail-in ballots are going out to voters in Riverside County. Check your mailbox, please. If you didn't get a mail-in ballot and you're supposed to, call the voter registrar's office. It's really important that you vote. Even though you might be a Republican and you think, okay, Trump's going to get the nomination, you need to vote down ballot. Within the state Senate district 42, we have Andrew Kutyak, and he's running for assemblyman against Chad Mays, who has actually turned independent. That's a really interesting story. He voted to raise our taxes, voted for green fees, and then turned independent. That's a mess. And so I know we're supporting Andrew Kutyak. He is a businessman, talking about signing the front of the check too, and a councilman. So he's a perfect blend of knowing, how to play the political game as well as run a business. I think he'd be wonderful for 42. But if we don't turn in our ballots and get our neighbors to turn in our ballots, our vote's going to be overshadowed. Ruth Weiss told me once we can outvote the fraud. We can outvote the duplicate registrations and the illegal registrations because there's confirmed cases of those as well. We can do it. It's going to require us to at least turn out 20% more than we usually do, though.
Yeah, and have the good IE Newswire and get the there you go, the tracking the Wuhan coronavirus. That has been. I mean, it seems like in the United States, the Inland Empire, Moreno Valley, where we're broadcasting from, is like ground zero because since we got the flight of the 195 of coronavirus evacuees from Wuhan, China. It's been going back and forth, and again, you want to talk about a PR disaster, in my view, of the way they've handled this whole thing.
There's a kid in the hospital.
Yeah, that's what was breaking today. And this is on IE Newswire Daily on Facebook Live. Coronavirus evacuee at March taken to the hospital with a fever. Moreno Valley, a minor held in the coronavirus quarantine at March Air Reserve Base was taken to Riverside University Medical Center Monday night for testing and observation. Testing samples were submitted and results are expected next week, officials said. In another case, an individual who arrived at LAX and was transported to March Air Reserve Base and is placed under federal quarantine until February 6th, authorities said. So they're putting up tents out there and stuff in case more people are coming in. There's up to tens or thousands. China, I think South Korea closed down a auto manufacturing plant because they were getting stuff from China, and they're concerned about it. It was like the whole thing of that they weren't under quarantine. They are. Then they put the first ones to come in. They weren't under quarantine. Somebody tried to leave. Well, he was under quarantine. Then they issued a federal quarantine for 14 days, first time in 50 years. Now they're bringing somebody in. They said they have some concerns about it, LAX, because where they've been, and they're bringing them into March, which is February 4th. He's subject to leaving in February 6th. He's under quarantine until February 6th, so they're tuning up. And they say it's got a 14-day incubation period, on and on and on. It just seems like, would you just tell us the truth about this stuff and get the accurate information out, not the double talk, this piecemeal, yada, yada, yada. This is the reason why we moved it from Ontario to March. Because of this. Boom, boom, boom. I still don't understand if the incubation period is 14 days, why when that plane landed, the federal quarantine order was not issued for 14 days. You could always back it up if you determined, or the experts determined there was no threat. But we knew it had a 14-day incubation period. We don't know. All the flight attendants were wearing look like hermetically sealed suits in the pictures that were printed in the New York Times from some of that coming on. So if it isn't that dangerous, then why are we having such a big problem with it? I mean, again, it just seems like the incompetency that's running through all of our public agencies anymore is at an enormous pace. What do you say, Laura?
Yeah, and I don't understand why if they had medical facilities there, why do they need to transfer a child? I mean, that tells me that where they're at, it isn't adequate to staff the needs of the people they have in quarantine. I mean, it's a little bit of a liberties issue. You don't want to restrict anybody beyond
a reasonable time.
Right,
yes.
And so I understand, maybe promising them a shorter quarantine period, but they clearly said 14 days. They were at the heart of where the outbreak was. And no, they should not have promised 3 days. And now that kid is not in quarantine anymore. He's at Riverside General or University Hospital?
University, the county. Riverside University Medical Center.
And I mean, that place is a mess. Have you ever been there? Have you ever gone to urgent
care?
Yes.
No, yes. I've been in there for 57 hours. I
remember that. Your spider bite.
Yes. No, it's that. Now I will disagree with you a little bit. When I was up there in the room, I mean, you actually have your own private room up there and stuff. The actual room I was saying, and the care I got there was, I can't complain about it.
Okay.
Everybody was at. So I mean, I do. They have had some problems over there, but just my experience. It was, I'm not going to downgrade or that or tell it
Yeah,
like it was.
I should probably take that back. It's not a mess. It's just urgent care. When you
Yes.
go into the emergency room, just the environment with all those sick people, it's a little bit unsettling.
Yes, it is.
But,
I
they're trying their best.
actually, in the emergency room, I will give them, is a lot better that I was in the emergency room one time at Community, wasn't a patient going through there, and boy, I would agree with the side I seen at Community, man. I think you were in worse shape walking in the hospital than you were than you were on that. We got about 2 minutes left, and the reason we're out here is we got Laura and Candace in here. So give them a quick rundown of the Girl Scout cookies of that that you have available, and tell them how to get them. Shoot on the deal and do that. Hold up your ones that they got to get if they want these. Tell them they got to work quick because these are coming out.
Quick because these are going away.
And
next
they are.
year. Thanks a lot. We also have s'mores, lemonades, Thin Mints, caramel delights, and caramel chocolate chip.
All that. Roy bought too much of this stuff, so he's going to be giving it a lot away. So I'm going to make some more happy people of all this stuff going around.
Come
on
on
that.
this show and get a box.
Yes, but it was maybe we'll give some away as prizes on the show on that as that. But no, it's absolutely great cause. You can look in the comments. Laura Martin's on Facebook of that. So if you're in the Inland Empire area, get a hold of them. They'll hook you up with some of these great Girl Scout cookies on that. Up and down the line. Did you have fun
It's
today?
That easy. We had a blast.
No.
She's a little bit tired. She had soccer practice.
Yes, and that I'm going to hire you as a props manager because you love working with it. Yes, I mean you do a heck of a job with the no button, the screaming goat. Maybe we'll put you behind the engineering desk of that, and you can work on sound effects or something while we're playing on the show on that. No, it's been great fun. Covered a lot of areas of that. From the nation right down to our local area on that. It's a pleasure having you both in, Laura and Candace, on this show today on a very windy Taco Tuesday that we're coming into as we do every Monday through Friday, starting on Facebook Live at 5 o'clock, and we tune in to KMET, the Mighty Met 1490 at 5:30. So we'll be back tomorrow with Stephanie on Wicked Wednesday with all the fun and frivolity and everything we have on that. So we will see you then in 23 hours. Watch our strong State of the Union. Bye.